Hello everyone and welcome to a first look at Free For All in Total War Warhammer 2. In this game, guys, I'm going to be playing the Lizardman led by Gar, and I'm going to be facing off against Oakley, who's playing the High Elves, Indie Pride of Milk and Cookies Total War, who's helming the Dark Elves. We're also joined by Doomon15, who's going to be leading the Foul Skaven Horde, so definitely going to be a party. So rather than doing my usual unit introductions, guys, we're going to jump right into this battle, but rest assured, knowing we got some college prep elves over here, we got some angsty, edgy Dark Elves, we got some rat people, and then we got some dinosaurs riding dinosaurs, so hopefully that's some good analysis for you guys. So let's jump right into this game, guys, and have some fun. So over here on the far side of the battlefield, I actually did a little bit of a sneaky Vanguard deployment. I do have some Chameleon Skate, so these guys are a Vanguard, Poison Skirmisher type unit, and they actually, for an infantry unit, are very fast. They actually do have 48 movement speed, but you can see over here in the shadows, Doomon15 has actually deployed some Night Runners, so I definitely need to be careful. These guys are kind of similar, actually. They're a Vanguard unit, they do have missile attacks, and are very, very fast, and definitely some sneaky Skaven action going on. So if you guys look over here on the top meter, you can see these kind of points up here. So as your units do damage, not kills, damage, you get points. And you saw the skinks right there fired a volley. They did about, a little bit of HP damage, but it gives you about, 20 or 30 points right there. So that's kind of giving you guys a little bit of taste of how that works. So anyways, my forces right here are going to be rushing through the forest. So I figured I wanted to try and isolate the Skaven player because I noticed he had his army deployed in two ways. He had half of his army over here looking to maybe attack the Dark Elves from this side. He has half of his army over here, so I figured if I just kind of rushed with my entire force and just kind of brute forced this small little army he has over here, I would be getting a lot of points. And you can see Indie Pride has actually gotten quite a few points himself. If I'm not mistaken, he does have some missile units. He has some Dark Shards, which are kind of the range unit of the Dark Elves, armor-piercing crossbows, who also have shields. So definitely a very cool unit. So it looks like Oakley and Indie Pride are going to have a bit of a battle up here in the middle, and we're going to have a little bit of a forest skirmish over here between the Skaven and the Lizardman. So right now I am casting a Flock of Doom. As far as my caster goes, I do have, I think I have like a Skank Priest who has Lord Beast, and that was definitely a very juicy Flock of Doom. You can see it's doing some pretty good HP damage to all of those clan rats, although it's not really giving me points. It seems like when you cast spells for some reason, it doesn't give you a lot of points. Indie Pride was saying when he was casting the Comet from the Lore of Heavens in some other game, or another free-for-all match, it wasn't actually giving him the kills for some reason, or the damage done. So I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intended, but anyways, on the far side, my cold ones are getting ready to engage with this warlord. They're going to be fighting against some of these rat ogres, so this is definitely going to be a pretty good advantage from, I guess I do have an advantage here because my guys do have anti-large, and the rat ogres are kind of like really shine in armor-piercing situations. And my cold one spear riders, I guess, wow, they actually do have a ton of armor. Oh, that's because I cast Wyson's Wildform on them. I was like, I don't remember them having 120 armor. But regardless, they're getting in there, and I do have Gar coming in. So Gar is going to do some massive damage. He has anti-large. You can see he's tail whipping some of those rat ogres, and this is going to be a very, very bad engagement for these guys. In the mainline fight, you can see some of the Lizardmen, which is a combination of the Saurus Warriors, who have a very, very high DPS for kind of a rank and file unit. The Saurus Warriors with shields cost about 800, but they have 52 weapon strength, which is huge. And I also do have them kind of supported with some skink cohorts, which are the cheapest variant of Lizardmen infantry. They actually have some cool jumping attacks themselves, but we're kind of fighting against these foul rat hordes, which seems to be going well. You can see some of the clan rats are routing. He does have the Globudeers in the back who are throwing some pretty good volleys in here against my Saurus Warriors, but actually they look to be shooting the skinks, which isn't good. In the back, I also do have my Revivification Crystal, and try saying that one fast. It's such a tongue twister. Look at this guy just chase off the rats. That's so great when this big dinosaur comes in, all the rats go scurrying. And it looks like a mass terror route right now, so it looks like my Lizardman front line is going to rout those guys off. And he is keeping this other group over here in auxiliary, maybe thinking about ambushing Indie Pride over here. But Oakley and Indie Pride have begun a bit of a missile skirmish here. You can see the High Elf archers, and they do have superior range to the Dark Shards. Dark Shards have 125, whereas High Elf missiles do have 180. So pretty much similar to like the Deepwood Scouts of the Wood Elf. So Oakley is going to be running back right here. I think he was a little bit worried that I might be coming since like I had collapsed his flank. So he thought I was coming up and around here, but him and Indie Pride are definitely going to have a battle here. And they have pretty similar armies. You can see, a relatively equivocal amount of frontline troops. However, Indie Pride does have the advantage in regards to Cap. He has a bunch of Cold One Knights, and it looks like Oakley has more of a defensive formation. So he has a bunch of these Swordmasters of Hoth, which are armor-piercing anti-infantry units, and they're mixed in with some spearmen, who are obviously zoning out those cold ones, so very well played there. You can also see this missile fire is going to be tearing into these Black Ark Corsairs, who do have 80 armor, so they're not completely vulnerable, but nonetheless, they're not a shielded unit, so they're going to take a bit of damage. And the Black Ark Corsairs themselves have anti-infantry, so they're going to tear into these spearmen very, very effectively, and you can see just an exchange of missiles. And, Dark Shards are more meant versus armored targets, but they still do have silver shields, so they're going to trade pretty efficiently with these missile units. So the fighting has begun under here, and you can see the fire coming down from that Sun Dragon, just doing massive damage to these guys, causing a little bit of lag, but man, that is so darn cool. Dragons guys are a lot better than they used to be. So the Dragonfire can be dodged a little bit, but it still does a ton of damage. And you guys can see the Murderous Prowess has, proc for the Dark Elves. So that purple aura is a 90-second buff called Murderous Prowess. So when a certain amount of kills take place on a battlefield, the Dark Elves are going to get that. So in free-for-all, it procs incredibly quick. So you can see the Black Guard of Naggarond have engaged here, and they're definitely going to be holding the line. And I don't think that's Malekith. I think that's just a regular Dreadlord right here. And some of the spears that belong to Oakley have gotten into the back line, and it looks like there is some sort of a spell being cast on all of these guys. And yes, some sort of a vortex spell. Oh, the Dwellers Below. So Oakley actually uses the Dwellers Below on Indy Pride's Dark Shard, so very, very well played. But yeah, man, an incredibly close fight over here. So back on the Skaven and Lizardman side of things, it looks like the Hell Pit Abominations have come in here, but I have all these big scary dinosaurs. So you can see my Bastiladon and my Ancient Stegodon, which is a monster. It has 480 weapon strength, it has great missile damage with poison, and this Hell Pit Abomination is just getting beaten down. So you can see it's getting knocked around, and Krokgar is pretty much a hard counter to these guys. He has anti-large, he has great armor piercing. Granted, the Hell Pit Abomination isn't terribly armored in the first place. I hope we get some sort of an entanglement, like when the two units actually wrestle each other. It's so darn cool. So the Skaven hordes are pulling in some of their clan rats right here, but you can see these guys are actually terror routing right here when they're at like 100%, which is pretty funny. But the Hell Pit Abominations are going down so incredibly quick. And the crystal on my Bastiladon right here is a great healing tool. So any of the damage that Krokgar has taken henceforth is just getting healed by that revivification crystal. I just can't even say that fast. It's so hard. Over here on the far side, I do have some skink cohorts, which are going to engage with clan rats, and that's a pretty even fight. They're both kind of fodder units. If anything, the clan rats might be a little bit stronger, and they do have an anti-large bonus, but granted, skinks are quite small, so that's not really going to apply. You can see my skink priest over here. He's chasing a horde of rats all by himself. Definitely a true patriot of the Lizardman, and things are looking pretty good. The Hell Pit Abominations are pretty much taken out. My Ancient Stegodon chased it off the battlefield. You can see it's pretty much just sitting over here, hanging out. Krokgar and the boys are getting ready to come up here and crack a cold one. I'm sorry, I just had to. I had to. I had played like 3 or 4 games as the Lizardman, and I hadn't made that joke yet, so I just got out of the way. Won't happen again, guys. So over here you can see Krokgar and just tearing into some of these Globideers here, who are actually a really good counter to Krokgar. They have anti-large and they have armor piercing. They hit like trucks. So thankfully I was able to chase those guys off before they did a lot of damage. And you can see my Ancient Stegodon is actually, some of the little skinks up there threw a few spears and actually took out this Skaven right here, which is hilarious. And they actually do hit pretty hard, those little guys riding on top, which is cool. You can see the Hell Pit Abomination is coming back in to do a little bit of work, but it's not going to last long against the Ancient Stegodon, who's going to turn around and just basically run it over. You can see Krokgar and his Dinosaur Goon Squad are just chasing down the last of the rats, and things are looking pretty good. So guys, if we look at the score up here, you can see I'm at about 8,400. Indy Pride's right behind me with 8,400 as well. Oakley and Dumon back here are trying to catch up. Dumon probably is out of the picture right now. His points are just too low based on what he has left. But Oakley could definitely still catch up. This battle over here between him and Indy Pride is incredibly pitched. You can see this Hell Pit Abomination right now is going to shatter with the Ancient Stegodon just spearing this bad boy down. So over here back on this side, Indy Pride did get around the back, so you can see these cold ones are just going to jump right into these missiles and just take them out. So definitely a very, very good engagement here. Oakley, however, does have some spearmen right in front of them. So if he can pull these archers back and kind of get them over here and engage with the spears, he'll be just fine. And the spearmen are going to do, be pretty good counters against the cold ones. They do have a very strong anti-large bonus and pretty good melee defense, so hopefully they can hold up here. So you can see Indy Pride's dragon in the back has landed, and it's kind of fighting amongst some of these archers, but Oakley does have his dragon up in there, but his prince is incredibly tattered. Very, very low, trying to find a home on the battlefield, and I wonder if he still has any dragon breath left. Unfortunately, so for the High Elves, they have a prince and a princess. So the princess is basically like a glady for the Wood Elves. It has ranged attacks, and the prince is the melee specialist. So he's getting in there, jumping on some of these Black Guards. So the Black Guard are fighting the Phoenix Guard, which is an incredibly thematic matchup. They're both like tanky anti-large units, and their stats are pretty equivocal. So the Phoenix Guard down here have, Martial Mastery. So when their hit points are greater than 50%, they get melee attack and melee defense, but it looks like it's dropped down, so they lost that bonus, unfortunately. So over here in the back, you can see some of these Sword Masters are chasing down some of these Dark Shards, so they're just trading very, very evenly over here. However, my forces are coming, and you guys can see up here on the top, Dumon, his name has been grayed out, so that means his forces have been eliminated, and Big Daddy Krokgar is coming up to clean up shop. So Indy Pride's pretty close to me right now. He's only down by about 400 points, so I really need to do some damage and make sure he can't come back. So for example, even if you did get eliminated from the game, if you had done a ton of damage before you died, like a massive amount of damage, you could still potentially win the game, even though your forces did lose. So Krokgar is coming in here and just doing some massive damage to these Dark Shards, and you can see Indy Pride very well played, does land his Dreadlord and pops Foe Seeker and the Hydra Blade, giving him massive AP damage. Granted, Big Daddy Krokgar, he gets Weisson's Wild Form and the Swiftness of Itzel, which gives him some pretty big speed buffs, I think. Oh, look at the battle. So Krokgar does get picked up and slammed by that dragon, but he's probably going to give it right back, and looks like he's just roaring at him, having a little bit of fun, but Weisson's Wild Form gives him weapon damage and armor, which are both going to be pretty useful in this situation here. So some of my skink cohorts have engaged with some of these Dread Spears and Dark Shards here, and skinks are so good for chasing missile units because they're very fast. You can see some of the Indy Pride's Corsairs coming in, but my cold ones are right on their tail, and they're going to chase those guys down pretty effectively. And it's going to be so tough to take out Krokgar. He is a monster. He has a massive HP pool. He has anti-large. And, you know, honestly, I think he might be one of the strongest duelists in the game. Like, even with all these new units added, I'm looking forward to trying him out against Kolek. I think that'll be a pretty good duel. But Krokgar does have, 500 plus weapon strength with anti-large and just outstanding combat stats. So my Bastiladon right here with the crystal has been keeping Krokgar basically in tip-top shape. You can see some of my Saurus warriors here are rampaging, so they're out of control, just kind of doing as they please. And you can see a lot of the elves are routing. These spearmen are definitely not going to be up to snuff here. So if we look right now and take an overarching look at things, we can see I've taken a bit of a lead. So I do have about a 2,000 point lead with Indy Pride in second, and Oakley is climbing up a little bit too. But it looks like his Lord is in pretty bad shape, and Indy Pride has come over here and actually isolated my Ancient Stegodon. So I cast Wyson's Wild Form on it, giving it weapon damage and armor and all kinds of stuff, and it has 560 right now. Granted, it's not necessarily meant against large. It does have really good weapon damage with its missiles as well. And Big Daddy Krokgar is coming in here, and he actually like headbutts that black dragon. So I really hope we get to see one of those entanglement animations. We do, and Krokgar actually tackles the beast, giving his Stegodon a little bit of a rest there, and they're definitely going to tag team this Dreadlord right here, which is going to be tough. So it looks like Oakley has brought some of his Swordmasters to bear, and they're doing a little bit of damage to Krokgar with that rear attack there. Granted, they don't have anti-large. I don't think yet. They're an anti-infantry unit, so those guys are probably just going to tear her out right there. So if we look, I do have a nice little Lizardman battalion here. I have some Saurus warriors and some skinks and some other guys coming. And pretty much a full health Bastiladon back here, which even though it's kind of like a support unit, it's still a monster in melee. So let's see what's left. The High Elves do have some forces that are, shattering right here. I don't think they're shattered quite yet. They are broken. He does have some rallying archers. And Indy Pride, I think, has some Dark Elf forces as well. But this is definitely just too pitched of a force. And you can see Big Daddy Krokgar was able to take out that Black Dragon. I'm telling you guys, like, normally, like, you would think, like, a dinosaur unit like this wouldn't have a ton of armor, but he has 100 armor. So if a faction doesn't have armor-piercing missiles, like, I definitely think Krokgar is going to be very good in, a multitude of metagame matchups. Against Empire, he might be a little bit tough. Against Dwarves, who have Thunders and Empire handgunners and things like that, but against factions that use, like, more traditional bows and missile fire, he's going to be a monster. I definitely think he's also going to be a very good pick against Chaos. You could see he's just tearing into some of these Phoenix Guard back here. Phoenix Guard are actually a really good answer against Krokgar. They have anti-large, armor-piercing, and they have really good charge defense as well. So, they're going to have a nice little niche in that matchup. So, on the far side, you can see my skinks are chasing down the last of these spearmen, and they're very fast and good at chasing down routing units. You can see some of these dudes are being sent flying by the Cold One Spear Riders, who are just having a jolly old time, and it looks like that's going to be all she wrote. So, 13.8k to 11.6 to 9.7 to 3.9. So, yeah, that was definitely a fun match, and I can't wait to get on free-for-all in some of these streams with you guys. It's gonna be a blast. But let me know what matchups you guys would like to see in free-for-all, when the game does come out. I definitely think it's going to be fun to play the Dawi and get some cannons and stuff, but again, it is based on damage done. So if you play the Dwarves, even if you spam a couple cannons, like, that's not going to outmatch the damage that, like, 2 full armies engaging is going to do. So it kind of, like, isn't going to be great to turtle. Granted, having cannons is nice. Like, it allows you to, kind of perpetually kind of rack up value. Man, there's going to be so many interesting matchups. Who else I think is going to be very good in free-for-all is the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves with their Deepwood Scouts, you can do some really aggressive vanguards, get some good harassing, get some good poke, while staying out of main engagements. I think that's going to be really cool to see. So very well played to Indy Pride, Oakley, and Dumon15. Look forward to playing with you guys again, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that first look at free-for-all. I definitely really enjoyed it myself. So guys, thanks again for watching. We got a lot more content coming soon, and have an excellent night.